Hello people, I've been playing Alhaitham for quite some time and I found some things that I think might be useful as a thought for you to think about when you're playing Alhaitham. So first off, we'll be discussing whether his attack pattern is going to matter a lot. We know that it's kind of crucial for you to use a good attack so that he can reliably trigger off his mirror projection. But, oh, and also one more thing, also have a chance to bypass the 3 hit internal cooldown things with his normal attack, so you can get additional danger application in the process. But you can actually do this in any kind of attack patterns. You don't really have to go down into a specific kind of attack patterns just to maximize his potential. You can do so with entry dash. I think that is the popular one that people might recommend. High evasiveness, good iframe uptime, but it's kind of similar costing. There's another one which is entry. You can get the same result as well. Then we move down to another one which is actually the full attack combo, which is designed just nice to actually enables you to get those two benefits that we seek. And even to the most extreme example, I even tested with N1 spam. Now this one is a bit for memes, it's not going to be useful for most situations, but you can see the point. You can actually do so in any kind of situation. But then, if you have seen the previous examples, you might notice that there is something in common, which is how reliable you can actually to refresh the mirror duration. Because there's two extremes to this example. You either do it too late, then you cause the further down interval to be affected, or you do it too early, which also does the same thing. So what you have to do is kind of like to roughly refresh his mirror every 2 mirror projection attack, or even to look out for his mirror stacks and pay attention to it so that you can refresh mirror on time. However, that is assuming that everything goes in your ways, like the target is not aggressive, you can dish out your normal attack combo at ease. So what if you're dealing with a super aggressive target and those that tends to knock you back like crazy, everything that you want to do is just rendered useless. So to really put into perspective in those kind of combat situation, I tested him in Gilded Dreams domain. In my opinion, that is one of the domains with the most supercharged aggressive targets, and this is what I found. On a side note, you can also bring in shooter characters or even more, like induction resistance buffer, to help you mitigate this kind of problems so that you can ignore all these combat struggles. But this is just assuming you're gonna bring in a party that don't have that kind of luxury and you're going full on offensive. So the first is you don't have to care about the attack combo. Now, don't get me wrong, that is the benefit that I mentioned earlier, but when it comes to combat being so vigorous, if you want to focus on your normal attack just to reliably release the mirror projection attack, then you risk yourself getting knocked back by the targets, getting hit by them, and because of that, you ruin the rest of your combo. So instead of relying on the 2 mirror projection timing, you have to shift to a different kind of level. You have to go into getting familiarized with Alhaitham's mirrors uptime and also his projection attack interval. If you know that, then you can roughly gauge that the next attack is going to trigger the mirrors and you can decide what to do next. And with regards to using either charge attack or endless skill to refresh your mirrors, both of them has their own benefit. I would prefer to use charge attack first because charge attack has quite a few limitations, like it's a close range activated, so it does requires a very specific kind of condition in order for it to activate. Not to mention, sometimes you got knocked back, then using charge attack is not an option, and using another skill to close in the distance is a much better choice, which is why I prefer to keep endless skill at the back, so it's like a backup in case I get knocked back. But don't have to be fixated by this rule. If you find the situation beneficial for you to use endless skill instead of charge attack, just do it so that you can keep the combat flow smooth. I'm not sure if I've mentioned about stamina control, like when you're fighting tough opponents, you tend to spam dash too much to try to avoid getting hit by them, so it's best to try to practice to use jump cancel if you think the opportunity is available to you, so that you can also save stamina and also jumpstart the stamina restoration process. And I think just for one last bit, like we know that there is like a combo for Alhaitham where you use his burst for refreshing mirrors, then you swap into his allies using their ember skills or bursts, then you go back to Al-Haitham. Now, if you are those players that tends to have latency problems, then you don't want to use this risk, then this tip doesn't apply to you. But for those that could use that though, you will not want to use ember skill when you're fighting really aggressive targets, because if you use ember skills, you don't have iframe for your characters, and if the target attacks you during that period of time, you will spend time knockback, and during that time you're going to screw up timing for you to swap back into Al-Haitham. It's still not the end of the world. You can still use his whole E into plunge for 3 mirror stacks, but you know, it's kind of like a sad thing that you plan for full 3 mirrors of time, but it got reduced to like 4 seconds. So what do we do here is that you will only swap to a character that can use burst, plus using other characters. Burst grants us iframe that doesn't cost us stamina to do so, and also helps Al-Haitham to transit smoothly so that he can activate his first projection timing on time. And this is basically it. Oh, and just one more thing. The reason why I mentioned that it's really important to gauge mirror trigger timing is if you do an attack while you're dashing away, there's a good chance that you are going to activate the mirror in the direction you're dashing away. So in that aspect, you're going to waste that wave of mirrors attacking on the direction that you don't want to. So it's a good habit to know that if your next attack is going to trigger the mirrors, it's best to dash towards the targets, or even better, you can always practice to just dash towards the target instead. But you know, situation calls for you to dash away from attacks, then that is a different situation, isn't it? So it's just best to keep habit to monitor when the trigger is. Other than that, you know, I think this is pretty much it from me. It's a bit lengthy, but this is all I can think about. Other than that, you know, hopefully all this can help you, and that's it from me. Goodbye.